Hi guys, so we are starting our hand and foot connection flow, so come and lie on your backs. Make sure I'm in view of the camera. Okay, so lie on your backs, feet hip distance apart. So we're going to work on our connection first of all, and then work on some postural cues to get better connected, and then working on our breath. So where we want to feel connected is underneath both feet, underneath the lumbosacral junction, underneath the TL junction, both shoulder blades and the back of the head. So we'll start down at our feet. So close your eyes and just have a think about what you're feeling. Are you feeling that the pressure is equal both sides? If you're not, then you're just going to try and shift the weight from side to side. So we're just shifting the weight from side to side until you feel like you've got balance between the right and left foot. Then you want to think about whereabouts you're feeling the pressure on the foot. So are you feeling it underneath the outside of the foot, or are you feeling it under the inside of the foot? So if you're feeling it on the outside, keeping your ankles in a neutral position, so an upright position, we're going to try and pull the inside of the foot down towards the floor, but without lifting the outside of the foot. So imagine trying to sort of push the big toe more down into the floor, but without lifting the outer arch up off the floor. If you're feeling it more on the inside, you're going to do the reverse. You're going to try and lower the outside of the foot towards the floor, but you want to keep contact with the big toe. So the big toe is going to try and keep down on the floor, and the inside arch is going to stay connected. Okay, so once we've got that connection underneath both feet equally, and you've got it both sides of the foot, we're going to work our way up to the lumbosacral junction, so the junction between your lower back and your pelvis. And we're just going to start by tilting the pelvis forwards into an anterior tilt, so your spine is going to peel away from the floor, so you'll have a gap underneath your back and the floor. And then we're going to reverse peel. So we're posteriorly rotating, or posteriorly tilting the pelvis. So the spine is going to cave into the floor. And then anterior tilt, lift the spine away. Posterior tilt, curve the spine into the floor. So we're just alternating between anterior and posterior tilt. And then I want you to find the midpoint between the two end ranges. So your back should be feeling like it's flat on the floor, so there shouldn't be a gap there, and equally you don't want it to be caved into the floor. So your pelvis should be neutral and your lower back should be neutral, and you'll feel better connected underneath your lumbosacral junction. Next we're going to go to the TL junction. So think of your ribcage and pelvis like the pages of a book. We want to pull the pages together so that they're parallel with each other. So we're trying to come away from this rib flared and extended position through the lower back. So we're pulling the ribcage and pelvis into connection, closing the pages of the book, and by doing that you'll feel more connected underneath your TL junction. Okay, so then we're going to work our way to the shoulders. So shoulder blades again want to be equal both sides. And the shoulders themselves, so make sure we're not elevated and anteriorly rotated. We're going to try and bring the shoulders back slightly, pull the shoulder blades towards the back pockets and externally rotate the shoulders. So they should be in a more neutral position. And then we're going to work our way up to the back of the head. Head wants to push straight down towards the floor. So we're activating these muscles at the front of the neck called the deep neck flexors. We don't want to let the head tilt backwards and we don't want it to stick forwards. You don't want to bring your chin to your chest. So head's going straight back down. Okay, so once we've got our connection, put one hand on the chest and one hand on the tummy. And we're just going to work on getting the breath in the right order. So when you breathe in, hand on the tummy wants to lift. Breathe out, hand on the tummy wants to lower. So just focusing our minds on our breath, focusing on which hand is lifting when we breathe in and lowering when we breathe out. The hand on the chest doesn't want to move anywhere, so it's the hand on the tummy that wants to lift as we breathe in and lower as we breathe out. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, as if you're blowing through a straw, so breathe through pursed lips. So really focus your breath, your mind on your breath. Do a couple more. So when you've got your breath in the right order, put your hands around your waist. Unless you're a pro at this and you can do it without your hands being around your waist. And we're going to create our 360 breath. So we want to feel all the muscles expand the whole way around the waist as we take a breath in. And then as we breathe out, the muscles are going to relax. So if you're struggling to find the muscles, if you cough, some days are better than others, so even if you have been able to do this in the past, sometimes you do struggle. Depends on what kind of a day you've had. If you've had a more stressful day, you might struggle to find those muscles straight away. So you might need to cough just to activate them. So once you've coughed and you've felt those muscles activate, just try and focus on all of those muscles that you felt expand into your hands as you coughed, expanding on the breath in and relaxing on the breath out. And we want to feel it the whole way around, so equal front to back, side to side. So if there's one spot that you're struggling with, my right side's the issue area, just focus on that side. Give it a prod, give it a little bit of a wake up, and breathe. Again, breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, through pursed lips. Okay, so once we've got the 360 breath, we want to create our brace. So our brace is what we do when we are doing something that needs more stabilisation. So we don't want to suck in our belly button, we don't want to clench or tense, so we're going to breathe 360, create that outward expansion, and then before you take your breath out, Do an outward push with the muscles. So imagine that you're farting and then don't let the muscles relax as you breathe out. So you're going to keep some outward pressure in those muscles as you're breathing out. Okay, so once we've got our breath in the right order, 360 breath and our brace, and we've got connection, we're now going to start the flow. So we're just going to start by just starting to work the intrinsic muscles in the foot. So what I want you to do is to, first of all, try and think about pushing the heel of your foot and where the toes are, so all of this like pad of the foot at the front, down into the floor. So we want to feel it equal both sides. So we're just going to push those down into the floor. So heel and then I don't really know what the toe pads I think they're called. And then once you've got that pressure equal on both sides, think about pushing the big toe down into the floor a bit more. So I can tell that my muscles are working because I just got a bit of cramp in the arch of my foot. So that's because I'm not using my muscles properly, so I'm just starting to wake them up. So if you start to feel like you're getting a bit of cramp in the arch, that's not a bad thing. It means that the muscles are working. So it's like you're trying to, by doing this, by creating that pressure into the heel, into the floor, and into the toe pads, and then big toe down to the floor, it's like we're trying to create a dome in the arch of the foot. So we're trying to lift that arch up towards the ceiling. But what we don't want to do if we're pushing the big toe into the floor is let the knees come in. So you want to sort of keep the ankles in a neutral position, knees pointing up towards the ceiling. And we want to keep that pressure on the outside and the inside of the foot. And if you can't hold it for too long, that's fine, just let the muscles relax. You also don't want to be sort of just curling the toes up to push into the floor, so they don't want to just completely claw in. So you want to be able to keep the toes quite relaxed. So again, just try it again. So you're going to push the heels down into the floor, push the toe pads down into the floor, and then try and push the big toe down towards the floor. And then create that dome in the foot. So strengthening that arch of the foot. But try not to curl the toes. Okay, so relax your feet. And then we're just going to lift one leg. And then lower it back down, and we're going to try and connect with the floor fully. So front and back of the foot, try and touch the floor. So really try and think about where your foot is in space. So lift the opposite leg, and then lower back down and try and connect front and back at the same time. Lift the other leg. So we're alternating sides. Keep breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. As we're lifting the legs up into the air, try and make sure that the ankle stays in a neutral position. so that it doesn't turn inwards or outwards, and you want to keep a little bit of flexion in the heel and the ankle so that the toes are pointed a bit more towards your head direction rather than being floppy. So up and down, alternating legs at the minute. Trying to get that full connection as we lower back down. And then we're going to take both legs up into the air. So we're going to create the 360 breath and then the brace, so that when we lift, the pelvis doesn't tilt forwards. So we're lifting and lowering back down again, trying to connect equally from side to side and from front to back of the foot. So lift and lower. If you've got any back issues at the moment, lower back discomfort or pain, and this is too difficult, just do side to side, so alternating legs. So one more. And then we're going to end up in this 3-month supine, so feet higher than the knees, knees over the hips, hips externally rotated. Realise my head's not in view on the live. Hands up into the air, fingertips pointed to the ceiling. And then we are just going to lift the head, and we're just going to do a few rolls side to side, but only a few. And then we're going to go straight up into a high oblique sit. So I'm just going to move over a little bit. So just nice and controlled. Don't let your body collapse. Don't let your shoulders and pelvis disconnect. So we're going to roll onto the side and then up into a high oblique sit. So keep the shoulder active, and then when we come up, we're going to try and get the hand fully connected with the floor. So we don't want the hand to be in a claw. And then you're going to lower back down onto your side, then up into high oblique sit on the other side. And back down, roll. So we're just alternating from side to side at the minute. Make sure that shoulder stays nice and active so it doesn't push forwards. So really control the movement, don't rush it. Every time you come up into the high oblique sit, make sure that that hand gets fully connected to the floor. And then we're going to go from our roll into our high oblique sit, and then keep that hand connected with the floor and into your tripod. And then you're going to bring that leg back and lower back down onto your back, onto the opposite side, high oblique sit. I've not got enough room in here. Round into tripod. So again, just really, really slowly, making sure that your positioning is spot on every time you change out of the high oblique sit into this tripod. And bring this leg back, and then down, roll into the opposite side, high oblique sit, tripod, back down, then we're going to come up into high oblique sit. Make sure you've got that hand fully connected with the floor. We're going to take the legs to the side and then come up into a side plank. So if you struggle with the full side plank, just go onto your side, bend your knees and lift up. You can still keep that hands spread nice and wide. So make sure that you've got that full connection with your hand and the floor. And then you're going to rotate round into a plank and just hold. Again, fully connected underneath both hands this time. And then go to the opposite side. And hold. And then, so just going to go from side to side. So we're going to have a little pause in each position. So make sure that when you're in the side plank, you're nice and straight. And as you're moving your body, try not to let the shoulders and the pelvis disconnect. So you've got your Lego body again. So Lego body's moving as one. Keep breathing. And just do one more each side. Every time making sure that those fat hands fully connect with the floor, so we're not letting the hands claw. So we're going to go from this plank position now, so come into the middle, lower the knees down into bear, down into quadruped. Then you're going to go up into bear again, into plank, down into bear, knees down into quadruped. So make sure that you keep your hands connected, you're trying to keep your pelvis neutral, your lower back neutral. So quadruped, bear, plank, bear, quadruped, bear, plank, bear, quadruped, bear. So just going through those positions. Keep the shoulders active, don't let the shoulders collapse. Push the floor away with your hands, fingers spread wide, middle finger pointed forwards. Just do one more. Then we're going to go into, I'm going to turn this way, 6-month prone. So this is quadruped with your hands underneath your shoulders and knees underneath your hips. So we're just going to take the hands forward a little bit and then we're just extending the hips a little bit, but keeping neutral spine, so don't let your lower back arch. So hold in that position, making sure those hands are fully connected with the floor. Focusing on your breath and then keeping a nice neutral spine. If you can, just slowly lower down. So keeping your neutral spine, slowly down and slowly up. If you can't get all the way down without going to lumbar extension, you can just do scapular push-ups. So you're just going to push your back towards the ceiling, so you're pushing the floor away, and then letting the shoulder blades come together. Push the floor away, let the shoulder blades come together. So middle finger pointed forwards again, fingers spread wide. Again, like your feet, you want to try and make sure that this part of your hand is connected with the floor, so we're not just lifting off in the middle. Okay, so once we've done your 6-month prone push-ups, come back into your quadruped position. So hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, hands fully connected. Find your neutral spine, make sure you've got a nice long upper back, and we're just going to hinge the hips backwards first, keeping the hands fully connected. So when you're hinging backwards, what I want you to do is imagine that you're pulling your hands back towards your legs, but you're not actually moving anywhere. So if you were to pull and go forward, you'd kind of shoot off, but you're not actually going forwards, you're coming backwards, so you're activating through the shoulders. So pushing the hands down into the floor. Keep breathing and come back, holding that neutral spine, neutral pelvis. And back. So forwards and backwards. And then we're just going to come back into the middle and just play with the hand connection. So what I want you to do is you're just going to shift your weight into your right hand and your left knee. And then you're going to shift your weight into your left hand and your right knee. And just swap side to side. So right hand, left knee, left hand, right knee. Trying to keep this neutral position in the pelvis and spine. And then we're going to start to do some shoulder flexion. So if you're taking your right arm up, you're going to shift your weight into the left hand and the right knee, and that right arm is going to come up. So make sure the hand doesn't curl, that hand stays fully connected. Swap sides, so the right hand pushes down into the floor, left knee pushes down into the floor, and lift the left side. And then just alternating sides now. And then what I want you to do now is you're going to extend one hip backwards. So if you're taking your right leg back, you're going to shift the weight into the right hand and the left knee, and the left leg goes backwards. Right leg goes backwards, sorry. And bring it back in. Then shift the weight into the left hand and the right knee. And the left leg goes backwards. So as you're taking your leg backwards, just be really careful what's going on with your lower back. So what you don't want to do is extension through the lower back. So that stays completely still, and this movement is just coming from the hip and the knee. So don't take it too far back that your back goes into extension. Oh, that's much better. Perfect. Because otherwise, if you take your leg backwards and go into that extension, you're just going to end up overloading the lower back, and it's going to cause some issues. So alternating side to side. Okay, so then what you want to do is we are going to shift the weight into the right hand and the left knee, and we're just going to hinge backwards. So we're shifting the weight backwards, so taking the right leg will shift backwards, the the left leg will flex the hip and then come forwards. And then we're going to swap sides, so left hand's going to push into the floor, right knee, and then shift backwards with the left leg going into extension, the right hip goes into flexion and forwards. So again, alternating sides. Keep breathing, keep focusing on that hand connection. And then when you come back this next time, you're going to bring that leading hand forwards and then bring that other leg a bit further forward. So it's like you're doing a little crawl backwards and forwards. So we'll start with the left hand and the right knee pushing into the floor. You're going to shift the right hand and left knee backwards. Then you're going to shift the right hand and left knee forwards. And then take the left hand and right knee forwards. And then bring the left hand and right knee backwards. And then right hand and left knee backwards. So it's like you're just crawling backwards and forwards, keeping that neutral position in the pelvis and spine, keeping that middle finger pointed forwards, keeping the shoulders active, so keep pushing the floor away with the hands and try and control this movement so it's just coming from the extremities and the torso's not moving all over the place. Okay, so once you've done that a few times, we're going to lift up, curl the back feet under, or curl the feet under because they're both back. So curl the feet under, make sure you've got your neutral pelvis, neutral spine, lift the bum in the air, hands pressing down into the floor, and again we're going to hinge backwards through the hip, keeping on pressing down into the floor with the hands, so equally both sides. Just hold that position and then come out of it. Give your legs and your arms a little bit of a shake off. If you can, we can do the same thing as so crawling on in your quadruped. You can do it in bear. So you're going to lift and you're going to shift one leg and one hand forwards, then the other, and then backwards. Making sure we get that full hand connection with every step. Keep pushing the floor away, so we're keeping the shoulders active. Try not to be wobbling all over the place from side to side. So nice and controlled. And down. We won't be able to do as many of those as you do in quadruped. Okay. Back into quadruped. Shoulders active, neutral spine, spine nice and long. Curl the feet under, lift the knees off the floor and hinge backwards. And we're going to walk the hands backwards into your squat. So just as low as you can be. And try and make sure that you've got equal pressure between both feet. And think about those arches as well. So think about not letting those feet collapse in. So try and pull the ankle into an upright position. Keep the big toe down towards the floor, activating through those arches, and then stand. So before we do the next squat, get your feet comfortable distance apart So this is how to get better connected with your feet. So something picked up from Rich Ulmer, another chiropractor DNS instructor. So you're going to drop your knees inwards, so the weight shifts to the inside of the foot. Then you're going to rock backwards and forwards until you feel like you've got equal pressure from front to back. And now using your bum muscles, you want to drive the knees outwards. So drive the knees outwards so that they end up tracking the second and third toe. And you want to keep that inner arch pushing down into the floor. So as you're driving your knees, keep the big toe pressing down into the floor. And you should feel that connection between your foot and the floor. And then you're going to go back into your squat. And up. With that better foot connection. So again, try and keep nice and upright. I feel a little bit too narrow with my stance there. So knees in, backwards and forwards, knees out and down. Nice and upright, keeping your pelvis neutral lower back. So feel what's going on in the pelvis. Try and make sure that as you're going down and coming up, you're keeping that connection. So we're keeping that arch. So imagine, like I said before, with the dome of the foot. So the dome is in the middle and the arch trying to lift towards the ceiling. We're keeping that inner arch down. So big toe pressing down into the floor. So up and down. Just do one more. And then we're going to go into our squat. Hands down, into bear. Take one leg forwards into tripod. So keep the hands on the floor and we're just going to hinge backwards. So keep pushing down into the floor with both hands, hinging backwards, keep that front foot pressing down into the floor and forwards and back. Keep breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. Then up into high kneel, pelvis level with the floor. So try not to be diagonal, so pelvis down, neutral spine. And then we're just going to think about our foot again. So in this position, knee tracking second and third toe. So the ankle wants to be straight up, so we don't want to let the ankle collapse into the floor. So we're trying to keep that neutral ankle. Again, push your foot. So think about the heel and the pads of the toes pushing down into the floor. Try and relax the toes though, don't curl them up. And then push the big toe down towards the floor and thinking about that dome, creating that dome underneath the arch. So the arch is kind of lifting up towards the ceiling. Okay, then we're going to keep the pelvis level with the floor, knee tracking the second and third toe, lean into it and stand. Nice. Take the back leg back and slowly down. And when you're coming down, try not to let the ankles collapse inwards or outwards. So we're trying to keep this ankle neutral. So just in your own time. And slowly down. So reset every time, making sure that pelvis is level with the floor. If you need something by your side, so if your left leg's forwards, have a stool or something next to your right side so you can use it to help you up. So if you feel like your pelvis is just shooting to the side or your knees collapsing, just support yourself with something by your side. Just do one more. Hands down. Bring that foot back into your bear, into your opposite tripod. Nearly done now. Hands down into the floor, fully connected, try not to lift them, and you're hinging backwards and forwards. Hinging back and forwards and back and forwards and back and forwards. Just do one more. Up into the high kneel, pelvis level. And again, we're going to think about our foot. So, pushing the heel and the toes down into the floor. And then try and push the big toe down into the floor and creating this dome in the arch. So like the arch is lifting up towards the ceiling. And again, I'm getting cramp on this side. Try and make sure that the toes are relaxed so they're not clawing up. And then keep that inner arch down on the floor. Keep the ankle neutral, knee tracking second and third toe. So where your knee is will give you a good indication of what's happening if you're shifting the weight too much. So if you're shifting onto the outside, your knee will go outside, but if you're shifting too much onto the inside, your knee will go inside. Okay, so once we've got that, we're going to stand, so lean into it and stand. And down. Ankles steady, knee tracking second and third toe, reset the pelvis. Stand. Slowly down. Slowly down. Just do a couple more. Do one more. And then in the standing position, we can do the same. So we're just thinking about connecting our heels and the pads of our toes to the floor. And then we want to pull that big toe towards the floor, creating that dome underneath the arch. So the arch is sort of lifting towards the ceiling. Try and keep the toes relaxed, so you should be able to kind of wiggle your toes a little bit, but keeping this arch. And relax. And just do one more, so pushing down to the floor. With the heels and the pads of the toes, and then connecting the big toe to the floor, keeping the ankle neutral, lifting that dome up in the arch, and relax.